What's 2 plus 2?
Something about the question irritates me. I'm tired. I drift back to sleep. A few minutes pass, then I hear it again.
What's 2 plus 2?
This question not only begins a journey for our protagonist, but also for us as we embark on a story of discovery, friendship, and survival against impossible odds. So join me as I review Andy Weir's Project Hail Mary. Hello and welcome to a very special episode of the Spiraken Book Club. I'm your host Zan, saying konnichiwa, aloha, bonjour, and what's up? Hope you're doing good. Hope you're excited for another fun-filled episode of this awesome podcast you can find at www.spiraken.com. I'm also on Blue Skies, Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, and various other social media types. Just type in SPIRAKN in your search bar, and I guarantee you find us one way or the other. And if you are watching on YouTube, remember to like, share, subscribe, and as always, click on that bell for notification for when we release new episodes, because we're talking about something really cool here, something a little bit different, and something which is a book which is very unique. Because let's be honest, this is the first in my series, which is going to be my reading 45 books in 1 year project. And this is number one, which is going to be Project Hail Mary. Now, for those of you who are unaware, Andy Weir was the writer of the sensational book The Martian, also another novel called Artemis. And this is a sci fi adventure drama about a man who wakes up with no memory in a ship with two dead bodies and trying to remember who he is and what happened and what's going on. And we follow this protagonist, who we eventually found his name is Ryland Grace, on the mission that he's been sent, which will not only push the story forward, but more importantly, will decide the fate of humanity. And this is a hard sci-fi story. Which means that hard sci-fi is realistic. Think Star Trek versus Star Wars. Star Wars is more fanciful, that's soft sci-fi. Hard sci-fi would be more Star Trek, but that's still soft. We're talking more like Starship Troopers, Halo, where there are actual science behind it. And this is a story with a lot of science, because Andy Weir is very good at doing his math, if you get my drift. But this is the story of someone who has been sent from Earth to another galaxy to try to save the world. And he has complete amnesia. We don't know what happened, but as the story goes on, he begins to recall what occurred and why he's in the situation he is. Because from what he can remember, he's a scientist, but he's not an astronaut. And why is he in space? He doesn't know. And eventually we discover what happens. And by the time he remembers everything, it's now a dilemma of, do I continue this mission that I've been working on so hard, or do I say screw you guys for what happened? It's a big question. And we follow this story, which takes us across the galaxy to pretty to pretty far away. And more importantly, we have some nice twists and turns in it. And this is an exceptional read. If you've read The Martian, that is a amazing piece of art, and it's a novel. And this is another amazing novel from 2021. They are making an adaptation starring Ryan Gosling, and what can I say? But I hope they do this book justice, because it is a very compelling and endearing, and more importantly, it is a story that draws you in. You want to see Ryland do good. You want to see him save the day. And also, there's the other aspect, is that based on the story, we can assume that this is a final chance, a final pass, a final attempt at doing something. And if this fails, things are going to get really bad really soon. And more importantly, you got to think about the other elements. Like, for us to travel light years, it takes a long time. He doesn't know how long he's been in space for. He doesn't know much supplies he has. He doesn't know how to get back. So if you don't have the supplies, it's a one-way trip. How would that mess with your head? We're seeing it through Ryland's point of view. And is he an unreliable narrator? Well, you can debate about that, because he doesn't remember a lot, but it is one of these stories that's the point of it. It's, you're following on this adventure. You want to see what happens. And like I said, there is a unique narrative relationship in this that makes the story a little more compelling. We're going to get to that in a bit. So overall, this is a great story. It is definitely worth reading. It's definitely worth checking out. It is one of those ones that it's just exceptional in what it does. And to be honest with you, I know I'm going really into the accolades, but we're going to go deeper into it. But I just want to give you my initial review of it. Then we're going to get into some of the spoilery stuff. So with that in mind, let's actually get to the spoiler stuff, shall we? And the big spoiler of this is that Rylan makes a friend. Now, this friend is very unusual and different, and honestly, I cannot wait to see how he is portrayed in the live action film because it is such a unique concept. Now, as you could probably guess, this new friend is not from our part of the galaxy. Someone very different, and more importantly than that, it's something which is non-human based. Not the stereotypical, oh, it's Star Trek, so this is an alien that looks like a person with makeup on. No, this is something completely different that acts different, and how they communicate is very unique. And it makes you want to know more. I mean, he is a very chatty and nerdy and strange friend. And I think one of the funniest moments is that it has some great back and forth between Ryland and this character as they learn how to talk. And speaking of which, the dialogue is exceptional in this story, just like in The Martian. Andy Weir's way of portraying the story in first person, it's well written and also very researched because when he gets into the science babble talk, yeah, some parts you want to cross your eyes. However, it does make you want to know more and it keeps you engaged. I mean, my personal favorite quotes from this are going to be, well, let me just show you some of the quotes I got because my big one is going to be knock, knock, knock. Nope, that's not creepy at all. Being in a spaceship 12 light years from home and having someone knock on the door is totally normal. That's not creepy. That's first, when Rocky first shows up. We're going to call him Rocky for now. Some other quotes are really good with this for writing was going to be, I'm a scientist. Now we're getting somewhere. Time for me to use science. All right, genius brain, come up with something. I'm hungry. You have failed me, brain. It's just the ineptitude of this situation when as he's trying to remember who he is. Another one is going to be intelligence evolves to give us an advantage over the other animals on our planet, but evolution is lazy. Once a problem is solved, the trait stops evolving. This is for one of the many questions that this book poses to us because this book is a lot of questions, not just on what is going on, but how things are developed, how things are going, and sometimes it's the process of what's going on, which leads to arguably one of the funniest quotes, which is, we figured this out, yes, said Dimitri, with lasers. It was a very illuminating experiment. Was that a pun? It was! If you don't get the joke with it, lasers, illumination made of light, har har, very funny. But that is the kind of humor and writing of this story, and it does make you want to read more. And I'm not going to say more about this because of what's going on, how it's going. Just the world is going to end because of an astronomical event, and Ryland has to help stop it through science. What's going to go on? What's going to happen? Well, you got to read to find out. But I could go on and talk about this. I really could. I really want to. I wish I had someone to discuss this further with me, but them's the breaks right now because everyone I know who's read it, they're unavailable today, so it's just me. But let me know your thoughts on what you thought about this. If you've read Project Hail Mary, did you enjoy this? Did you like this? Did you hate this? Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what your favorite part of this was, your least favorite part of this was. For me personally, I loved Ryland. He's my favorite character in this, obviously because he's the protagonist, but I have a soft spot for Rocky. Rocky is a great character to want to focus on, and also some of his when he gets really smart at sea, then it gets it because he's learned sarcasm, so now he's being a prick. And my favorite line, which I don't have written down, but it's yes, yes, I am giant space monster. Now, limp blob, do your job. I'm paraphrasing, but yeah. Anyway, I'm not gonna say anymore, but I will say my rating. And my rating for this is gonna be really, really cool. Read it now. this is stop what you're doing, pick this up. It's worth reading. It is an exceptional book. It is great. Even if you're not a fan of sci-fi, it's worth reading just because the story itself, because it puts you in the position that he's in. And he's not really a scientist; he's just a kind of a nerd. But it's worth checking out. And the gravity of this story pulls you in and holds you till the very end. Pun intended. It holds you until that last moment because there are so many choices that have to be made in this story. And not just the ones you think of. These are life and death situations, or more importantly, stories of sacrifice. You could do this, but someone else would get hurt. What do you do? More importantly, the situation with the people who are involved in Project Hail Mary, the choices they have to make. Most of them are going to be held accountable for war crimes. One of them, straight up, it's like slight spoilers. The planet is cooling because of reasons, and they say, "Oh, well, you know what we can do? We're really good at heating up the planet with the greenhouse gas, so we'll make it worse." And it's like, "Oh, but if you do that, you are going to kill thousands of species, and things are going to get worse." Well, we find later. We'll deal with it later. It's that type of situation, that type of mentality, which this book focuses on, and that's where it gets very well. I'm gonna leave it at that. But if you've read this, let me know your thoughts. Email me personally, zan@spiraken.com. Leave a comment down below. More importantly than that, I'm going to be doing a live stream for some of our future ones. But let me know your thoughts on some of our books I'm more thinking of. And actually, next, I have our next book chosen. It's actually a very different book because the, the methodology for how I'm doing this is pretty cool. It's going to be last names. I'm doing 45 books in order of last name. So start off with W for Andy Weir. So next one has to be an X. Really hard to find a good X author who is not, well, is not nonfiction. I did find a couple, but they're kind of depressing and weird. We're going to get to them a bit. But the one I picked is actually Antonio Zerzensky, who wrote An Infinite Sadness, translated by Daniel Hahn. And this is a Portuguese author, I believe, or Portuguese or Brazilian. I got check it out. But this is one that looks pretty interesting. Now, if you've read this novel before, leave a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts about it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'll see you next week. And as usual, I am your host, Zan. I'm Gonzville. I'll catch you guys next time. And as always, keep reading novels. See you later.